What's up, YouTube? George, a silver hunter here with kind of an interesting coin hunt. So I was hanging out with my neighbor yesterday and he let me know that he actually dumps all of his pocket change for kind of months on end into some Tupperware. And at the end of a quarter, maybe every 6 months, he donates all of his pocket change to the dog shelter that he volunteers at. So he knows I'm into coin roll hunting and these kinds of things. And he said, hey, before I donate all this stuff, why don't you go through it, see if there's anything of any value. So that's what we're going to do today. And of course, anything that we find, we're going to let him know. I'll either buy it from him, or if there's a lot of value in it, he can sell it on his own and do what he wants. He can donate it or keep it. It's up to him. But I thought it'd be fun to go through what could be months of someone's pocket change just to see what we might find. So with that, let's jump into it. Before we get started, I did want to give you guys a little bit of a side view to give you an idea of the size and scale of these two little containers here. So this one, pretty small. Looks like it's going to be pretty heavy in quarters. This guy, I see dollar coins. I see, quarters, dimes, nickels, pennies, as we would expect. So this one, I think, is going to be probably more fun than this one, but we'll see. Let's get these dumped out. I'll start with this one. We'll dump them out, sort them into stacks, and start giving them a look. And I will bring you in if we find anything kind of cool. So we've done the initial sort. We've started going through quarters. We've got one under the scope here, and we did, in some pocket change, find a 2008 Arizona Extra Cactus variety. You can see let me see if I can find where's my mouse? There he is. You can see right here, we've got that die chip. So we've got that extra metal covering up the initials of the designer of the back of this coin. So we have our first variety in someone else's pocket change. So still sorting through the quarters, we came across our first bicentennial on its own, nothing special. I just like to pull them and keep them. It's probably going back in the pile for this guy. He may decide he wants to keep it as well. I don't know, we'll see. But we're gonna put it up here as another find. And along the way, I did find a 2015 Homestead quarter. And I have that under the scope right here. And you can see this is a huge example of the leaky bucket, as well as just a little bit of snow on the roof. If you look right here, a little bit of a die chip up there on the roof, nothing over here on the right-hand side. We don't have any DDR in the window, but this leaky bucket is a really, really good example of the leaky bucket error. So we're gonna pull that aside as well. So from the first bin, we've made it now through the quarters, the dimes, and we just went through the nickels, and I wanted to bring you guys in on one. I don't think it's anything but some machine doubling, but I have a 1998 D, and you can see here on the mint mark, we've definitely got a double D, but it does look like it's a machine type double. Let me know in the comments down below if you think otherwise. The rest of the coin looks pretty good. I don't see any doubling anywhere else, but this mint mark definitely doesn't look right. I see two Ds. So to wrap up that first bin of coins, which was the smaller bin, we did end up with a couple of finds. We had a rather ratty and beat up Extra Cactus Arizona quarter. We had a great leaky bucket Homestead quarter. We had a bicentennial. We had, I don't know what that is, about 10 fully copper pennies. So these were 82, and prior in my 82 I did weigh it as a copper penny. And we had that one, machine doubled mint mark I'm gonna hang on to until I hear from somebody in the crowd that says, hey, it's just a regular nickel and you can toss it back. So now we're gonna jump into the bigger bin. And this is what that bigger bin looks like dumped out. Now it's time to start sorting. All right, well, that was a lot of coins in that bin. So there's my stack of quarters, nickels, dimes, and pennies. I can tell you I did happen to glance a couple of, or at least one 40s nickel in there. I wouldn't be surprised if we have a couple of 40s and 50s. I did not see any silver dimes or silver quarters, but of course I went through them so quickly as I was just throwing them into piles, it's possible I missed something. And I did see at least one Wheatie as I was going through the pennies, just tossing them into piles. So we know we're gonna have a couple of finds in there. How valuable will they be? Who knows? Let's jump into these things. I'm probably gonna start with the nickels and dimes since they're up front and easier and they're a little bit smaller pile, and then we'll move back to the quarters and the pennies. So like last one, I'll bring you in at our first find. Okay, well, we are done going through the nickels. We did have two finds. We had a 1946 Philadelphia, and we had a 1958, so I can get this flipped over, Denver. So we will make sure we can probably pay these out and replace them. I may need them for my book. If there's a lot of value in them, which I don't believe there is, of course, I'll let the original owner of this change know, and hopefully he can make a few bucks if they're worth something. So anyway, two finds in the nickels. We're going to move on to the dimes. So we're making our way through the dimes one at a time. Here's all the ones I've searched. Here's the active ones I'm looking at. That's still to be sorted through. And surprise, surprise, we landed on a 1964 D 90% silver dime. Pretty cool. I haven't looked at today's spot price, but this is worth $1 or $2. That's pretty cool. That is definitely a find. Back to the dimes. So we finished up the nickels and the dimes, and just to recap, we did find that one 1964 90% silver dime, which is actually pretty cool. That's the most valuable thing in the bunch so far. Well, one of those error quarters might be worth more on eBay, but still, it's the most silver we found so far. Before we jump into the quarters and then we'll wrap up with the pennies, I did want to stop and point out they did have a $1 George Washington 2007 P $1 coin in here, and they had a couple of $half, just clad, nothing special. So those will go back in the bin. So let me jump into these quarters, and hopefully I bring you in early and often, and maybe we'll get lucky and find a W. All right, well, I'll be honest, after $76+ in quarters, we only got 2 bicentennials out of all that. We didn't find any errors, no W's, no S's, no nothing. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to the pennies. So we are just plugging along through these pennies. We've already got a small stash of copper going, and we did come across our first wheat penny of the bunch. This is a 1953 D, it looks like. So our first wheat penny, kind of a cool find. And I did have one of the Lincoln 2009s. I forget what the name of this one is with the log cabin. I think it's the Early Childhood is what it's called. I did go ahead and pull that. And I have one that I'm just keeping as an example. It's a 1994. It may be that DDR, but I need something to compare it to, so I'm just looking out for another 1994 in the bunch that I can compare it to. So anyway, the real find here is the wheat penny, and we're just gonna keep on going. This is what I'm actively hunting, and that's what we got left. All right, so we just got done searching that last batch that I had shown in the previous clip, and we came across another wheatie, a really early wheatie too, a 1970. I'm sorry, I can't read, 1917. 70 would put us into the more current designs. So it's not in great shape, but it is a 1917, looks like Philadelphia wheatie. So we are steadily making our way through these pennies, and we are on our third wheat penny. If I can zoom in on this a little bit, make that a little bit easier. 1944 wheat penny. This one's in a little better shape than the last one. We'll put it up here as a find. And I also have, and I'll put them up here, 2 1960 Ds. There is a small date and a large date. And looking at these, I can't tell if they're the small or the large. They look to be the same, so I'm guessing they're the small date. But I'll keep looking at the book and see if we can figure out what they are. Bring you in at the next find. So we're moving on to our last, this will be the last batch we hunt, and I wanted to bring you guys in and show you a couple things we found. I didn't bring you in for each one individually. We did have our first foreign. We have a Canadian penny, a 1982 1-cent piece. We did find that. We found a really bad grease strike. I'll put that under the scope here in just a second. We did pick up along the way 1 or 2 of these 2009 Lincoln formative years, no DDO on those. And of course, we found a bunch more copper as we went. I do want to show you under the scope 2 coins that I've been looking at, trying to figure out if I have something. This 1972 P, There is a DDO. Typically it shows up here on the date, which I really don't see any. There's a little bit of a clip 2 there on the very end, but I'm not sure that is part of a DDO. But when we get up here to the In God We Trust bit, the D looks a little off to me. Looks like there's some doubling there. The O, if I can get the light just right, it looks like there's a little bit of a line in there, but it's not showing up here on the camera. There's some doubling here on the E, and the really interesting part is when you get over here to the U, you can see there's like 2 U's there. So I don't know if this would qualify. The coin is not in great shape, but let me know down in the comments below. Do we have a 1972p DDO in your estimation? Just love to know. Love to call it a find. So I'm gonna put it aside, and we'll continue to do some research, and hopefully we can figure out if that is something interesting. And then I just wanted to show you guys this grease strike, and I am both zoomed in and digitally zoomed really deep into this coin, but look at the grease strike on this thing. It's not worth anything, just it is interesting. It's an ugly, ugly coin. All right, let's get back to the hunt. We've got maybe $2 worth of pennies left, and we'll wrap it up. So we finished going through that last batch. I've cleaned up everything to some degree. We did find 2 new wheat pennies. We had a 1944, not in great shape, but it's a wheat penny. And we had a 1950 that's in a little bit better shape. Still not fantastic, but 5 wheat pennies and someone else's pocket change. Not a bad deal. This was all the copper that we pulled out from the larger bin of coins. So what is that, about $1.61? And those 2 coins that I had pulled aside, I do want to share with you real quick. I think we have a large date and a small date 1960D. So let me show you what we got. And I found this YouTube video that kind of goes through the difference between the large date and the small date. And you'll see he's kind of put them side by side and done some lines. And to me, the big thing is on the small date, the 1, the bottom of the 1, the 6, and the 0 line up, and the top of the 1 and the 9 kind of touches, and the 0 match up. And the 6 just goes over the top line a little bit on the small date. Now on the big date, you'll see the 9 actually goes over the top of that line where the 1 and the 0 line up. And then along the bottom, the 1 doesn't quite touch the bottom line when you match up the 6 and the 0. So I went ahead and took screenshots of my 2 coins. They are on the same zoom. I've tried to level them both out so I could do the same thing with these lines just to show you guys. So this is the first, this is the large date one. So if you look at this bottom blue line, you will see my 6 and my 0 line up, but I've got quite a bit of space here between my bottom blue line and my 1. And up here, my 1 lines up with my 0, and the 9 goes over top, and the 6 extends really high above this top blue line. This is the picture of the second one. And you'll notice here that, again, my top line actually touches the top of the 1, the 9, and the 0. And the bottom line, it's actually the second of the bottom line, touches the 1, the 6, and the 0 as I come across. So this is enough evidence for me to say I actually have a small date and a large date 1960D. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. So to put a final wrap up on this around value, remember this came out of my neighbor's pocket change, right? He's going to donate all this. I'll probably I'll talk to him before I do it, but replace these coins with other quarters, nickels, and dimes and things like that to add to his bin, because these are the kinds of things that I want to hang on to. But we ended up with 86 cents worth of copper pennies. So if you don't know, anything made 1982 or prior, really prior to 82, is made of 95% copper. 82, some were copper, some were zinc, so you have to weigh them. If they weigh around 3.1 ounces, then you know you have a copper penny. And I do have some 82 coppers in there. So I did the math on them. I actually weighed all 86 pennies on my scale, and it was about 9.9 ounces, which works out to $2.21 worth of copper, give or take. Excuse me if the math is wrong. feel free to let me know in the comments down below. But $2.12 for 86 cents worth of pennies, that's not a bad deal. And that doesn't include any of the other potential copper we have down here in the wheat cents and stuff. We had some bicentennials. I have recently found that if you can sell those by the roll, you can make some money on them. Probably, you know, I sold 2 rolls of bicentennials and I made about $37 on them. But then after shipping and fees and all that kind of stuff, you know, I only really made about $4 or $5, but still not bad if you have rolls of them and they're not special. This leaky bucket's probably worth a couple of bucks on eBay, $2, $3 on eBay. This extra cactus I've done, they're also worth $2 or $3, but in this condition, I wouldn't sell it. The 2 nickels, a couple of cents over face. They're really more, I'm going to look at them to put in my book. This potential DDO or repunch mint mark, you know, I'd love to hear from you guys down in the comments if you think I have something or if this is just a machine error. Otherwise, this is just a nickel. The most value we got, though, was out of this 1964 90% silver dime. Today, at today's spot, this is worth $1.80-something cents, 81, 82 cents. So that's not bad for a dime. These 2009 pennies, they're in really bad shape. I'm going to throw them back in the bin, but they are 2009s, and some people collect them. None of them had any of the variety in them. We already went over the wheat pennies. In the red book, each of these wet wheat pennies in G4 condition, which I think these could probably get G4. It says they're 10 cents a piece. Now, honestly, on the market, on eBay, 2 to 4, maybe 5 cents a coin is what you're looking at. The Canadian penny, I don't know. It's going back in the bin. The grease strike, it's worth a penny. And where there's potential value is in the 1960 small date and large date. According to Redbook, not a lot, 20 or 30 cents in G4. I'm not a really big coin grader, so I don't know if I could get, you know, a higher grade than that. But to really get into the money on these, because so many were made, you're really needing to get mint state, and that's not what these 2 are. I'm going to hang on to them just because I think they're cool finds. Where there is money, though, is this 1972, or I'm sorry, this what is it? I picked the wrong one. I'm sorry. It's where to go. It's this one, this 1972. If this is in fact a DDO, it looks the closest to like the FS 106 to me. I would love to hear from you guys down in the comments what you think. These are going on eBay for $20 to $30 in this condition. Maybe that's a little high, maybe it's a little low. I'm not sure. This is another one, though, I'm just going to put in a flip and hang on to until I hear otherwise. If you guys can let me know if it's something good, I'll hang on to it. If not, I'll take it over to the LCS and see what they have to say. And if it's still nothing special, it is a copper, so we'll just throw it in the bin. So I didn't tally all of that up, so I don't know what the total on it is. It's probably not a lot of money outside of this 72 if it ends up being a kind of a big deal. But we did make more money than face value out of this, and it was a lot of fun to go through it. So anyway, I hope you learned something in this. I hope you enjoyed watching me hunt the various different types of coins you might find in your pocket. And I'm just excited that I can now give my buddy a total on all the coins he's got, and he can donate that to his dog shelter. So with that said, thanks for making it to the end of the video. If you haven't already, hit that like button, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that bell button and select all so you get notified every time I post a video. And I really look forward to seeing you guys in the next one.